Let us begin at the Vatican, where thousands of mourners are lining up to say their final farewells to Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica. The body of the late pontiff will be lying in state until Friday for a public viewing before the funeral on Saturday. Now, early this morning, as many as 20,000 pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square for the procession. Latin chants and church bells filled the square for this part of the mourning process. CBS News special correspondent Norah O'Donnell is joining us live from Rome to talk about this. So, Norah, it must be an incredible sight to see all of these mourners, people who the pontiff has figured so much in their life, coming out to pay their final respects.
It is. It's absolutely extraordinary. A historic event, a global event right here in Rome, and we could witness it right over our shoulder in St. Peter's Square. As you mentioned, tens of thousands of people today from all over the world have come to pay their final respects. I was down there talking to many of them. There was one woman from Oklahoma City who came, was very excited to get inside and pray for the Pope. She talked about him as a faithful servant. Another family that I met from Dallas, Fort Worth, they are not Catholic, but they want to be here just because of the historic nature of what's happening. I met a family from Mexico, and the mother said to me that she wanted to be here because Pope Francis changed her life and has changed the world. So really an extraordinary set of events. You saw the procession this morning, Vlad. I mean, the College of Cardinals leading as they took the coffin with Pope Francis from Casa Santa Marta, which is the Vatican guest house where Pope Francis lived, and brought it into St. Peter's Basilica. And I'm sure you noticed, even though that was a really incredible procession, some of the differences already that are meant to reflect Pope Francis's humility. You know, he actually changed how the funeral would go about. This is, a tradition that has gone back through the 13th century, how popes are buried. And Pope Francis wrote in his autobiography, I don't want all of that. And so there are some real changes. And the first is what you see now. You notice how he is just on a very small wooden it's not even a platform. It's just a very small step. But in the past, popes have been on a huge catafalque in front of the entire group of people that come by to pay their respects. So that's just the beginning of how things are different. And then there'll be many more differences in the funeral that we will see on Saturday, Vlad.
Norah, I know as an altar boy for nearly a decade, I know that you had an opportunity yesterday to actually, you were invited to go into the area where the Pope's body was lying in repose. What was that just like for you, not just as a journalist, but more importantly as a Catholic?
You know, Vlad, it was something we were not expecting. It was a complete surprise. We got wind in the middle of the day that might be a possibility. There essentially was a private viewing for some nuns and some priests and people who work in the Vatican. And then we got word from a priest that we had worked closely with on the interview with Pope Francis that we conducted last year. So late last night, we were able to get inside the Vatican and wait in line. And then, once we got inside, I mean, it was so quiet. It was so solemn. We stood just feet away from Pope Francis. People reached out to touch his coffin. We heard one little girl kind of cry, and you could hear people, praying very, very quietly. But it was a moment of reflection. It was a moment to think about his legacy and what he has meant to people. And that's one of the things I think that I noticed, too, and we'll be talking about this in the days ahead. I think, he tried to change the Catholic Church to be more inclusive. He was not able to change a lot of doctrine, but the tone that Pope Francis used and the way he tried to be more inclusive, whether it was on issues of all the people who feel marginalized around the world, to make them feel more included. I think that is going to be part of his legacy, that humility, modesty, all reflecting St. Francis of Assisi, that, of course, revolutionary priest who's focused so much on poverty, and why Pope Francis chose his name to become the first Pope ever that chose the name Francis. And I think that's what's really interesting about this. And then, Vlad, I'm also just struck by what we're going to see on Saturday. Someone had said to me, we haven't seen a papal funeral in 20 years, since Pope John Paul II. There are expected to be foreign delegations from more than 150 countries. I mean, President Trump and his wife, President Zelensky, leaders from Great Britain, including Prince William, will be here. I mean, just about every major world leader is going to be here. I mean, kings and queens are already saying they will be here, too. And that will all happen behind me in St. Peter's Square, where there will be, I'm told, a 2.5-hour-long funeral mass. And, of course, we will cover it right here on CBS News. Vlad.
Yeah. Norah, I guess it's an excellent point that you make about all those world leaders and even perhaps members of the aristocracy that will come to pay their final respects to the pontiff. But I'm reminded, as you just indicated, of his humility. And while you're right, he wasn't able to change the doctrine of the church as much, but symbolism matters. I recall back in 2024, around this time, leading up to Easter, how the Pope exclusively washed the feet of women. That had never been done, or had been many, many years since that had ever been done. And I'm told that even in the way that he is going to be buried, it will not even signify in his tomb that he was a Pope. Am I right about that?
You are right, and I'm glad you brought that up, because he is going to be, most popes are buried at the Vatican. There are some exceptions, but Pope Francis wants to be buried at the Basilica of St. Mary Major, and that's a few miles from here. And the reason he loves that church is because it is the largest and oldest Marian church, meaning, of course, praising the Blessed Virgin Mother Mary. And he goes and prays there more than 100 times. He went there before and after every trip. And so, as you mentioned, he had requested that he be buried in the earth, as he says, and he will only have the name Franciscus outside of his tomb. Most of these popes, and if you've ever visited here, you notice, of course, all the Roman numerals and the name, and it says, of course, Pope or Papa before their names. And his will just say Franciscus, noting that sort of humility. And I think part of that, too, Vlad, is he wanted to always put the focus on others, which is what I learned about, growing up as a Catholic, to focus on the other. And that's sort of a humility. And that's why when we interviewed him a year ago, and when I asked him if he likes being called the People's Pope, that's when he smiled really broadly, because I think that is part of his legacy, being known that. And then, as you pointed out, I'm glad you noticed that, there have been popes in the past that have washed the feet of the poor. Pope Francis did that. He washed the feet of prisoners, too, and of females, and that was new. And, of course, that is a reflection. The symbolism of that, I think, was a nod to the calls for the church to modernize. Nuns are the backbone of the Catholic Church. They're the ones who take care of the poor. They're the ones who teach in all the schools. They're the ones in the hospitals. And so, many people have asked Pope Francis to try and modernize. I asked him, will they ever be priests or deacons? He said no, but he has appointed some women to positions of power, and I think he has tried to put some of the focus back on what women do for the church. Vlad.
Norah O'Donnell reporting from Rome. It took you 10 years, Norah, to get that interview with the Pope, and it is so fitting that you are there to witness this final chapter of Pope Francis's life and legacy. Thank you, Norah, for spending some time with us. Appreciate it.
Always great to talk to you. Thank you, Vlad.
All right, I want to bring in Mary and Benjamin Moritz, who received a marriage blessing from the Pope 2 years ago, and they join me now to talk about their experience. So you could hear my interview, guys, with Norah, just about who Pope Francis was and what he represented to people, not just Catholics, the billion Catholics around the world, but people, as Norah indicated, who are not Catholic, who are there to also pay their final respects. So tell us how this happened to be, how your experience came to be.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. We heard from a family member that there's this thing called the newlywed blessing, where in your first couple months of marriage, you can go to Rome and get your marriage blessed by the Pope. So we thought, well, we got to do that. And so we went to Rome. We got the tickets to go meet the Pope and get our marriage blessed. And through all this research of this blessing, I heard of a tradition of switching hats or zacchetos with the Pope. And so I said, okay, well, if we're going to meet the Pope, we might as well try to switch hats with him. So I found his papal tailor, and we went to the little shop and bought one of his zacchetos. So when he came up to bless our marriage, I studied my Italian a little bit and asked him in Italian to switch hats with us. But I don't speak Italian, so I don't think it came out that beautifully. And the Pope started to chuckle, and then I started to laugh, and then I saw him reach up and take his hat off and grab our hat and switch with us. And it was so amazing. So now we can say, we made the Pope laugh. So it was just great to have that like joyful encounter with him.
That's beautiful. Let me ask both of you, starting with you, Ben, how you will remember Pope Francis, but how you think that the world should look upon his legacy and his papacy.
Yeah, I think that he is going to be remembered as a Pope of joy, just as Mary alluded to, right? Is there any picture without him smiling? He's just an incredibly joyful person. And I think Catholics really should grab onto that. And they do grab onto that, is living the joy of the gospel, as we say. And yeah, living the life so that it's transformative to others, that other people see the joy of Christ in each other. That's ultimately what we'll take away most from it, I'm sure.
What about you, Mary?
Yeah, I thought Ben said it great. Also, his humility of going out and like serving the marginalized. So we're Catholic school teachers, and that's what we kind of want to model that too. Go out and serve our students, just to bring Christ's love to everyone we meet.
I love it. Thank you guys for spending some time with us to share that incredible memory. And the picture that we just saw there with the Zucchetto in a glass in a container, is that at the Vatican or is that there at your church?
It's actually, we keep it in our house, but I took it out for the special occasion today. We always keep it in that little case that we got, but taking it out today. Inside of it, there's actually a piece of his hair. So if he becomes a saint someday, we get really excited because this would be a first-class relic. So as a Catholic, we kind of nerd out about it being a possible first-class relic someday.
That is
so yeah, we
very
keep it in
cool.
our house, and it's a good reminder of his pontiff and our call to serve.
I love it. That's really beautiful. Mary and Benjamin, thank you so much for spending some time with us. This is great. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.